Good evening. I'm in France right now in the French Alps. I'm talking to you from here. It's the evening and it's the afternoon in Lima in Peru. I hope you're having a good day. And we're going to talk tonight about how to rebuild a smart and sustainable human society for the world. I'd like to invite you to this journey, uh, me in the French Alps, with this current situation about COVID, making everything a bit different and in Peru nowadays, crossing fingers that both crises end up well and end up finally all of us being able to live nice lives all over the world wherever we are. I'll talk a little bit about the title of this presentation, and this presentation will be about half an hour. I don't know exactly, we'll see. You'll need a pen and paper if you have, or finger and computer, tablet, whatever, to take a few notes and to do a few things. And of course, curiosity and an open mind will be very helpful. What we're going to do here, we're going to share stories. I will share stories, and we'll repeat a few times the same message, the same story. But first, talking about the CFCs, those gases. I'll talk about them a bit more and key messages. Then we'll take a trip to the moon and come back here. Staying on the moon might not be that fun. Then we'll go through a few more stories and concepts. One of the key message is that we each have roles to play to create and maintain individual and systemic changes. And you'll see that message coming back, and I'll explain a few of those elements in there. So first, who am I? You're going to listen to me for another half hour, so I'd rather say who I am. I hardly ever describe myself as a teacher, a professor. I'm a facilitator, consultant. I've been working on sustainability with those two initiatives a lot, the Earth Charter, the Natural Step. I would need to add the logo of the Sully test here. I'm a European person, French, in the French Alps, married to an Ecuadorian, así que podría hablar un poquito español, but feels better and simpler in English. Generally, what I would like to do is put people in contact, creating networks, coaching. I'm also a dad. I am a human being specimen of the community of life, all the living things in our biosphere. And in all of those living things, we are all humans, I think, and I'm one of yours, one of us. I'm a skier as well. This is an image from where I grew up and where I live, that little mountain here. Well, not that little. And obviously, I'm here tonight doing this conference with you. So the title of the conference is Building a Smart World for Sustainability. And when I heard about this, when I was invited, the first thing that came to my mind, I was asked, what can I bring to this conference? I thought, well, I can bring to this conference working a bit with that title. First, for sustainability, sustainability is an objective, but the final objective is that all of us, humanity, is able to live well everywhere, or everywhere on the planet for a very long time in this biosphere. The biosphere is the place where there's life going on, a few kilometers below sea level and above sea level. That's our world. So the final goal is a human society living in the world. And of course, this human society means to be smart and sustainable. I think definitely we're not that year. We are not there yet about being sustainable. That's for sure. Are we smart in the way we are developing? That there's debate. We might not talk about that tonight. That might be another conference. And rebuilding, because currently our human systems are unsustainable, and I'll explain what I mean with that. So we need to rebuild our human system. So we don't really need to build a world for sustainability, but we need to rebuild our human society uh, to make it smart and sustainable, and to be a human society that can work with this world. And there's a few words below here, both to say that it's both an urgency. We need to be very quick to rebuild our current unsustainable human system, and it is a huge opportunity. So let's go with the first part of the journey, where I explain all most messages once. The CFCs. So, and this story, I tell it to explain the role of technology to reach sustainability, because some people believe that sustainability is not a huge issue because technology will help us and we'll find the solution anyway. So the CFCs, you see that little woman here doing cheap sheet. Those are the little gases that did, because we don't use them anymore. Cheap sheet, and also used to be in the fridges. We generally know that the CFCs destroy the ozone layer. The ozone layer is that layer in the atmosphere that protects us from some of the sun's radiations. If we don't have the ozone layer, basically those radiations will kill all kind of life on Earth, which might be a problem for us as well if we think we are more important than the rest of life on Earth. So we know they destroyed the ozone layer. What we generally forget is that in the 30s or 40s, so about 90 years ago, 80, 90 years ago, they were a fantastic product, because without exploding, without irritating, they allowed to keep food healthy for longer. They made it possible to have fridge, and having a fridge means people can eat things for a longer time without being sick. So they were a fabulous product. And then we know that we have apparently avoided the ozone layer trouble. Apparently, we've reacted fast enough as a human society to say we need to stop using the CFCs. And we know in general, not only about CFCs, that if we make a mistake, we can learn about it. So then we should all know that nowadays, I'm having a European perspective here, but it's probably about the same in Peru or all over the world where you can be listening to that. There's about 100,000 chemicals circulating in Europe, and we have data to know if they are dangerous for only about 14% of them. That means, and that number might be up to 15 or 20% now, no clue. But there's about 80% of the chemicals circulating in Europe. We don't know if they are dangerous. We don't know if they are dangerous, which means we might be lucky, some of them are not dangerous, but we could be unlucky and a few of them are very dangerous. What happened with the CFCs? They were very stable. So each time we would use them, they would pile up, accumulate in the atmosphere somehow. And nature doesn't know how to break CFCs naturally. So they would accumulate somewhere. And by accumulating, we had no clue in the 30s or 40s, 80 years ago, that they would go all the way up to the ozone layer and destroy it. So the lesson here, technology can do miracles. It will definitely be part of the solutions, but it has to follow a few principles. If we just think that technology just like this will work, we might end up with the CFC troubles. It might solve a solution now and be in the next trouble. So we need to think about this and think about principles to avoid this problem again. The key message I'm going to talk about, like this, it's a complex system. So like the CFCs, they pile up and at some point they will arrive somewhere and disturb the system somehow. So here it was with the ozone layer. So the main message, it's a complex system. So where is your leverage point where you have an impact on the system? Reaching sustainability, we look into it, we have to transform the economic system. We have to not use things like CFCs, and we need to fit social and environmental constraints. We'll look into this again a bit more. I'll explain all of those. Sustainability is good business. It is not cost. It is not something heavy. It is not something bad. Actually, you know, in the future, there will be only sustainable businesses if we manage to shift fast enough. Anyone who's not a sustainable business will not be present in the future. It is extremely urgent to act. There are some dangerous thresholds, some things like climate change or biodiversity loss. We've done already so much damage on all of those things that it could become very dangerous, or it is already very dangerous, and we need to change quickly, and there is a lot of inertia. So we need to act quickly, and there are a lot of actions happening all over the world. I generally say there are two trends. All the problems we've created in the past, and some thresholds that can make them worse in the future, and all the good actions happening nowadays to change all of that. And it's like a race to who's going to be able to bend the other first before it's too late or before we've done enough. So we don't know what trend is going to win. We have a clue that we have about 10 years left to act and change the way we do answer our needs. So now it's the time to act. It's not the time to think. It's not the time to wonder if it's good or not. It's not the time to make 2 years diagnosis to see where we're at and see what actions we should do. It's time to act now. And changing the system towards sustainability means changing all the individuals and changing also all the collective structures. And it does require lots of skills: communication, facilitation, cooperation, working together, and all those skills. So I told you we would take the moon. I got to drink a bit of water before taking that trip. Hopefully you're ready to go to the moon now. I am. Go. So all together, we've been assigned a mission. We need to build a spaceship for 500 people, and we're going to travel in space and visit the moon for 1 month. This spaceship is a closed system. It has windows, and you do need to design the spaceship. What are the main characteristics? What can participants bring? How is life organized on the spaceship? So if you want to use those slides one day, they will be available with University de Lima, and you can ask them and get them. And if you want to use those slides, give 10 minutes to people to think about that. Now, I'm doing a conference. It's recorded. If I stand 10 minutes here not saying anything, we will probably lose a lot of audience. So just take a few seconds. Design your spaceships. You're going to go for 1 month in space, 500 people. How is life organized? Technically, what do you do? What do people bring? Okay, you've done it? Good, that's good enough. Now, of course, this is financed by someone, and that someone just had an idea and they want to change something. They're just going to change 2 words in there. Okay, we're changing 2 words. We're not going to live for 1 month. We're going to live for 200 years. Okay, now go back to your board and redesign your ship. You're not living for 1 month. You're living for 200 years. What are the characteristics? What can participants bring? How is life on the spaceship organized? What happens? That was a little blank to check that everybody got it. We're not living for a month. We're living for 200 years. What does that mean? What happened when you said that? Most of you probably thought, okay, we live for a month. We need the big fridge to store food for 500 people. And we need to know who's part of the crew, who's part of the, the tourists, who's going to do what, and how do we run this? Now you're living for 200 years. It's not the same people who are living and we're going to come back. How do you deal with that? You cannot have passenger on the spaceship living for 200 years. Everybody must have a task. How do you work with that? You need to grow your food. You cannot bring food for 200 years. Basically, what happened in that exercise, you went from something where you thought, well, we have infinite resources. We can just pick up things in the fridge and we send out things out in garbage, a linear model. We'll take something, we'll use it, and we put it in the garbage, to a closed world, where nothing can be garbage, because in 200 years, if you start throwing things away, you won't have enough. You went from a linear to a cyclical model, and that's the shift we need to do to go from the current unsustainable patterns we have in our world to sustainable patterns. And if you are on the moon and look at the Earth, you can see it's dark black space around. We are on a spaceship. We are 7 billion passengers on the spaceship. Actually, there are no passengers. We are 7 billion crews on the spaceship. What can we do? Okay, now we're back on on Earth and we look at our trip to the moon and we thought, okay, is there a captain on board? Do we have all the needed information? Are we taking decisions we don't, where we see the impacts later, like with the Cfcs, and we're like, oh, we didn't know. So based on this, a few people, few friends, started something called the SULI test, the Sustainability Literacy Test. The idea is to say that everybody going to a university or anywhere in the world, any education before, during university time or later, we must ensure that everybody, leaders, actors, followers, everybody is fully aware that of what is needed and the transitions. We need to integrate all those elements in professional practices, all of us, whatever our job. There's not one sustainability person who's going to fix all of that. It's everybody here. We are on spaceship Earth. We are all crews. We all need to work. So we call sustainability literacy knowledge, skills, and mindset that help compel an individual to become deeply committed to building a sustainable future and to allow him or her to make informed and effective decisions to this end. We tried to think about how do we organize all the information around sustainability, and we realized that we had this approach from the moon down to the individual. So if you look at the Earth from the moon, you will see the Earth, planet Earth, ecosystems, and humanity. And all of those need to be sustainable. How do they work? And where are we at from an ecological and social perspective? Then, if you zoom in a bit more, you will see global and local human constructed systems. They are all here to answer people's needs. Those are the economic systems, the governance, the education, how we deal with water, energy, and food. All of those human constructed systems answer people's needs. Then, because we know where we're at and we know we need to change quickly, we are aware that we need to do transitions towards sustainability. I'll explain later why I say transitions with an S. And we have a lot of examples, a lot of concepts, a lot of initiatives, and we also have to know how change happens to make those transitions very efficient. And then we realize, we zoom in again, we started from the moon, we zoom in again, and we realize that each individual have a role to play to create and maintain individual changes. Each of us, we have to change the way we work. If I'm a bit green on that screen, it's because my computer is 11 years old. I changed its hard drive because it was really getting slow. But the camera is 11 years old. I think I will need to change the computer soon, to be honest. The camera is dying soonish. But I managed to use it for 11 years and I use it a lot because buying a new computer or buying anything that I don't really need is a pattern of consumption that we need to be careful about. So sorry for the green screen, it's for a reason. We also need systemic change. We need to change the whole system. So the SULI test has 30 subjects. There's 15 on knowledge, I just mentioned them. And then there's skills. To be able to do those skills, we need to have personal skills, empathy, future-oriented thinking, be able to understand complexity, be able to have critical thinking, know when you're wrong and admit it. We need to be able to work with others, to be participatory, to inspire, to motivate. And we need to think and act systemically. We need to be able to look at the whole picture from the moon, if you want to look at the whole planet, or a bit less far if you have a closer system, and figure out what we can do. And then we have mindsets. We have a mindset of respect and care for the community of life. As I said, I feel part of a community of life, which includes a lot of other animals like me and you and us, and plants and all of that. We need to understand we are part of nature, not separate from nature. We have to have this holistic approach, like a gardener going to help plants grow, and not a mechanistic approach where we think we can just come in with big machines and change everything. We need to use the golden rule. Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. We need to believe that one, you, me, all of us can initiate and reinforce change. And we need to have an active commitment to act. So the SULI test helps a lot of people understand and get this sustainability literacy. I'll have another sip of water. We'll go a bit less far than the moon this time, but we'll explore a few more stories and concepts. So first, systems, and a focus on our system, humanity in the biosphere. So this is a story of a system. If you don't look a system with collective intelligence, this is 6 blind men describing an elephant. One would say this is a snake. Another one would say this is a high mountain. The other one would say this is a cave. If you look from far enough, you will see the elephant. Same if you have only one person, you think you understand the system in one way, but there could be other ways of looking at a system. A system, I love this ancient Sufi saying, you think because you understand one, you must understand two, because one and one make two, but you must also understand and. A system is about the relationships, about the links between all the things, all the parts of the system. Companies, families, atoms, all of that as system. Human beings, you are a system as a person, and your family is a system, and your country is a system. Some work better than others depending on when it is. The world is a system. We're surrounded by system, and we know how to navigate system intuitively. We discovered how to learn a language without having a language to explain that we are in the process of learning a language. That was when we were a few months old. So we are very good at understanding systems individually, naturally. A quick exercise about systems, just a fun one. Please do it with me. Point your finger up like this, point to the ceiling and look at it. And if you remember old watches, they turn clockwise. So turn your finger clockwise and look up and keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, and slowly start going down. Your finger keeps pointing up and turning, and you start going down until your finger is more or less at the level of your belly button. And now you look at your finger, and you might notice it's turning in the other direction. So again, clockwise, you turn, you go down slowly, and you look down there and it's turning in the other direction. What happened? Okay, now that's when everybody answers and tells me what happened and stuff. Some people tell me when I play that game, you tricked me. There's a trick. What happened? Some other people try to move their finger around and see what happens and then obviously a few people and many people say, well, we changed perspective on the system. We were looking at the finger from the bottom, and then we were looking at the system finger from the top. Two people looking at the same system might see different things. That's why we need collective intelligence and many people. We need several perspectives on the system. And all perspectives can be different and all can be valid. Not all perspectives will be valid. If someone says, hey, you had two fingers moving, it's like, you drank too much or something. But we need all those perspectives. And obviously what we see depends on where we see it from. So changing perspective mentally, physically, open up new fields, new discoveries, new possibilities. Our system, I'll just use one indicator to show where we are. It's the Earth overshoot day. That's when we start consuming more than we have. So the Earth, we have one Earth. Everybody is aware of that, I think. And the Earth produces a lot of things, fortunately, and we use today 1.6 Earth. This is possible because we are using things from the fridge or from the bank account. It's like if your grandmother did give you money in a bank account, and every month you can use 1,000, but you earn 1,000, but you actually use 1.5 or 1.6 in this case, but you have 10,000 in the bank, and then make the math and you'll discover how long you can do. Well, same thing here. We're using things that are non-renewable, petroleum and all those things, and we're exhausting the resources of the earth. So from, I think it's the 20, somewhere in July or August, somewhere it's here, see, from the end of July in 2018, from the end of July, we are starting using the rest. Here you see 2020, it went up. That's COVID. So we need to be quick because we cannot do that for longer. Grandmother's money cannot last forever. We will be in trouble if we don't change fast. So How possible is it to transform our current system? And that's a very important thing to know. It is possible. It's actually very nice to do. This guy in Japan was cultivating rice, and there's a link between rice and duck. He was cultivating rice and he was putting bags of chemicals in his rice fields and realized that he would eat the rice later, and he said, I can't do that. And then he saw old pictures and saw that ducks were in the rice field pictures. And he said, I have no ducks. Of course, the ducks would die with all the chemicals he would put in the field. And he tried. And he realized that the ducks were eating all the bad herbs and letting the rice quiet. And the ducks were moving in the water, so bringing more oxygen. So the plants were growing faster. And obviously, the ducks were eating things and pooing, so giving food for the plants to grow faster. So he realized he had a better productivity than his neighbors. He had organic products, he could sell more, he could eat ducks, and 75,000 farms followed his method. So it is possible to go from all chemical to zero chemical. Of course, the duck solution won't work for every businesses, but every businesses, every system, every value chain has to find their own ducks. I call sustainability getting out of the funnel. That graph is a simplified metaphor saying this is the Earth, like the ecological footprint, sorry, with we use one Earth to use 1.6 Earth. And this is something that measures happiness. And they've measured it in many ways. And this is, we have more and more money and we are more and more happy. And they realize that at the beginning, you need money to be happy, because if you don't have enough to buy food, you can't be happy. But after a little bit, with more money, you don't necessarily grow more happy. And there's a lot of trends like this that show that we are in a funnel with a growing demands and less clean resources. And sustainability is the fact that there are less and less actions. A non-sustainable society is not that there are many impacts like climate change and biodiversity. It's that we have made errors in how we created our system that make things to worsen systematically. So sustainability is getting out of the funnel, and we need to change the way we do things to change those walls and get out of the funnel. A lot of people would say sustainability is this triple bottom line of economy, social, and environment. I don't like this because, as someone who looked into the successful habits of visionary companies, profit is like oxygen. It is not the point in life. You don't live to breathe oxygen, but without oxygen, you cannot live. It's the same thing with the economy. The economy is just as important as social and environment. But the goal, the objective, is to have a good human society on our planet Earth. And the economy is the way for us to have a good human society. And so the economy needs to stay and remain the mean. And it's a very important mean, like way of getting there, not mean as in you're a bad guy, but way of getting there, because we need to transform the way our economy functions now. So it's very important to focus on our economy, but to reach social and environmental goals. And that never, if you do a project, never mix objectives and the means to get them. What logic do we need to get to be effective change agents? One day you can look at this picture and decide if you see a duck or a rabbit. Get the PowerPoint and look at the picture longer. So sustainable development talks about stakeholders and pollution and energy and corruption and democracy and sustainability reporting and dematerialization, transport and ISO 2014. Too many things. When we talk about sustainable development, there's so many issues, so many concepts, we get lost. I used to say that we need to look at the tree and not get lost in the leaves. We need to step back, that system thinking perspective, and look at the whole tree, not get lost in details. So in a complex system, as I said, our human brain knows how to find a language without having a language to say, well, I'm finding a language. Our human brain is able to drive home most of the time without accidents. But our human brain knows how to deal with complex systems, but sometimes as a group, we lose that. How do we do that? How do we navigate complex systems naturally? Is naturally we design we create our desired future. I want to go home. And then we look at where we are now, and if we have a bike or a plane or just walking, and we start going home. And then there's something happening in the middle of our journey, and we have to change plan. Well, okay, we change plan, but at the end, most of the time you get home. And this movement is called backcasting. You project yourself in the future and you look where you're at, and then you make the way back, well, forward towards your future, and you adapt on the way. That's the only way we can do in complex systems. To design our desired future, we could decide to do a puzzle, like we know exactly what it looks like, you know exactly what home looks like. But when you were looking for home, you didn't know you would find this exact home, but you knew that home would have to have that many rooms because you had a big family or a small family. You knew the money you could invest, where it could be, etc. But that is too complex to do with our complex system. We cannot do scenarios. We have to go with principles like chess. We know the principles of chess, and we have to think about them. We use this 5-level system to not get lost in the leaves. What is the system? What is success? What strategy do you do towards success? What actions and what tools to measure all of that? Our system is planet Earth with the human society. Oh, the human society will come a bit further. Planet Earth, there's plants and animals, they exchange things, and we exchange things with the lithosphere, with the Earth crust. And obviously, there's a human society. If you want to know where to go, like if you don't know where you're going, you can take any road. So what is success for us? What is sustainability? So a lot of people forget this to try to describe sustainability. If you have the bathtub overflowing, the first thing you'll do, you'll try to put the TV up, or maybe you'll do it quickly, but the first thing you'll do is go and stop the faucet so that the water stops running into your house. You go upwards to the mechanisms which created the problems, and the impacts, you deal with them after you stop the mechanism to keep on pouring water in your house. You don't start taking the water out. First, you stop the water from flowing in your house. And that's how the natural step worked, with finding out the 4 mechanisms. I'll explain them to you very briefly. Tonight is not the point of tonight or today for you. It's not the point of going deep into science, but there is a scientific way to describe sustainability. The first way is if you take systematically more out of the Earth's crust than nature can bring back. The second way is if society produces more than biosphere can absorb. The third way is that if you destroyed physically the biosphere, like if you over-harvest, if you deforestation, if you go and get too much fishes, overfishing and all those things, physical actions. And the fourth way is preventing people from answering their needs. There's now a better, a finer way to explain that fourth mechanism, social mechanism, but it's the same thing. If we want a sustainable society, we need to follow those 4 system conditions. They are like the rules, like the chess rules of our complex system. You'll have them on the PowerPoint. I'm not going to read all of that. And how do you implement that? Well, first, you make sure that the whole group, your business, your university, share the same mental model, have an idea that we need to start from a vision or desired future, and that we're going to do backcasting. Then you do the B step. You assess today from the point of view of success. Then you brainstorm solutions, and then you choose them. And when you choose them, each time you ask yourself, am I going in the good direction? Is this question, this solution, is it going in the good direction? Is it a flexible platform? If I do the action, can I do more things after? And is it good business? Is it a good idea to do it now? Money-wise, the dynamic it will create, all of the things that you can put into good business. One company did that. Well, many companies did that, but one is very well known. It's called Interface. And Interface, they produce carpet tiles. And so it's petroleum at the bottom, petroleum at the top. And this gentleman, who unfortunately died a few years ago, was the founder of Interface. And when he was asked about doing something, he read a book and realized that what he was doing was wrong. It was in 94, 95. And he said, complying to law is not a vision. It's not enough. So they started changing, and they created a bit later this Mission Zero, saying that in 2020 they'll start repairing all the bad impacts. And now they've evolved from Mission Zero 2020 to climate take back, repairing. So for them, Mission Zero, what they learned is that we need ambitious goal. We need someone, we need a CEO with credibility and passion, but it doesn't have to start from the CEO. But at some point, you need top management to say, yes, this is our vision. But it can start from within and show that it works and engage your CEO and your top management. Then you need to address the elephant in the room. If you're a university, you need to talk about education. Talking only about water consumption and energy consumption, if you're a university, that's not the elephant in the room. For them, the elephant in the room was petroleum. And then you need to let the business case speak. They realized it worked. Then they had to involve everybody. We each have roles and use sustainability as a source of innovation. After 10 years, they had reduced their water by 40%. They had reduced the greenhouse gases by 46%. They had reduced energy by 31%, and they have saved 231 million US dollar in waste. It was back then about a $1 billion per year business. They had saved money. All the money they saved, they could reinvest in doing all the innovation they needed to transform their company. One example, they do carpet tiles, and they ask the designer, okay, if we change a red carpet tiles that has been used, and then you put a new one, you will see the new one. How does forest do? Because if you take leaves from the forest, you move them, well, then it looks the same. Well, the forest has chaos. So just create carpet tiles with chaos. They have similar colors, but not the same, and similar patterns, but not the same. That is called biomimicry. You go in nature to find inspiration. They send their designer, and they send their designer in nature to look at what were the principles nature was using, not come back with the drawings of leaves, but how can we understand how nature is doing beautiful forest floors, and how can we make them in our businesses. You can see a beautiful talk by Ray Anderson where he will explain that the impact is the population times affluence type technology, and we explain how he wants to put a new technology, T2, find new technology, put it in the denominator. So if technology increases, the impact will decrease. And he also says about the A, the affluence, the richer you are, the more impact you will have. He said, what if we make A a lowercase a, which means affluence is not an objective. The objective is happiness. And then what if then this happiness, we make it work? What if we can create this new equation where the T is at the bottom and the A is a mean to an end, not the end it is itself. Reframe civilization. It's a 20 minutes TED talk. It's absolutely fabulous. And it's a businessman. It's not an NGO person saying we need to save the birds and the trees, which we need to do too. A few tricks on how to change. If you have someone in front of you and you want to inspire that person to change, first you have to understand yourself. Then you have to understand the other and the influence of context. You have to understand how change happens, and then you have to design an approach, and you have to think system to put all those elements together. You have to be aware why people change. In this study, they told a group of houses, please turn off your how do you say that, air conditioning. You're going to save money. Another group of houses, please turn off your air conditioning. You're going to save the planet. Another group of houses, please turn off your air conditioning to be a good citizen, because if not, we'll have too much energy used and we'll have breakdowns in energy. None of those things work well. But the other group of houses, they said, turn off your air conditioning. Your neighbors did it, and this worked. We usually do new things because the neighbors do it. So use this, create momentum with the people around you. There are many objections to sustainable development. Some say we cannot afford. It's true. It's not true, sorry. Unsustainability cannot be afforded. Having the funnel closing cannot be afforded. We cannot afford sustainability now. Well, the good business in ABCD, it's good business. You do action that are only good business. So yes, of course you can. We cannot afford going all the way. Well, we have to. It's 100% renewable. We cannot keep some non-renewable things, and we have to be sustainable. We cannot go all the way fast enough alone, and that is true. We need cross-sector cooperation. We need people to work together. Being first class on Titanic, you're still on Titanic. We are in different parts of the world. You know, here in this drawing, this group on the right bottom is the group of countries in the world who have a very low impact on the planet, but they don't fulfill their needs. They don't have an education system. They don't have health. They have hunger. This group of countries, they have a huge impact on the planet, and they can't continue like this, but they answer social needs. So obviously we need to go there. And that's why I said we need transitions. We can't afford all those countries to follow the same path of development that some other countries do. So we need those guys who started to do that to go here and go over there to finally reach this. Some countries need to do that sustainable development, that transition. Others need to do that. Others need to do that. We all have our road towards this space where we can all live well and forever. I hope you'll find your own place. I would like to thank you a lot. Gracias, muchas gracias for listening to me. And I leave you with that question. If not now, when? If not here, where? And if not you and I, who? You have my email address. If you need to contact me, you know how to get in touch with the organizers of the conference. They'll have this PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed it. And more than that, I hope you've been already acting for a while, but acting more, doing better, and doing with others, and include others and bring others with you. We can make it. It's definitely possible. We just don't know if we'll act fast enough. So stop thinking, start acting. No, think a bit, act, do. It's very tough to end a conference when you're alone in front of a computer. So I'll just say thank you one more time and I'll stop here. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.